Good morning or good day. Hello, welcome. And as we're coming to the end of this 2-week series, for this meditation, I'd like to introduce something which, in my mind, my heart, is kind of the gathering together of all that we've done these. Good morning. Hang on. All of these days. And sometimes the word Dharma is used to refer to something profound in our own nature. That we have the nature of being Dharma vesicles for the Dharma. We are, there's a wonderful capacity, force, wonderful processing that is within our psychophysical being, which we can't exactly appropriate as being mine. In a sense, from a certain kind of way, it's a greater power within us that is not what we normally identify as me, or the one who's going to do something. And we have agency, but one of the really powerful ways to use that agency in Dharma practice is to use it to create the conditions for our own inner nature, Dharma nature, to move through us. And a lot of the Dharma practice, sooner or later, is about getting out of the way, not interfering, not blocking, not messing with the natural movement, Dharma movement within us. And sometimes that movement is a movement towards healing. And our heart's nature is to heal. If we allow it, if we create the conditions and the time and the non-interference, and a radical non-interference, a radical way of not being a victim, not being a fixer, not being a avoider, not being a builder and maker of making things happen. The natural movement towards homeostasis, or towards health, or towards a certain kind of healing. Sometimes it's a process of maturation. Maybe we are healed in a conventional way, in psychological way, and something begins moving through us to mature us. We grow and develop and blossom. Come into fruition is the Buddhist language for it. And so, to have a profound respect for our own capacity and everyone's capacity for this natural process of healing, maturation, of moving into a kind of wholeness, or moving into a kind of healing, moving into a kind of maturity that is wholesome, that is in some ways ethical. So as we sit with this meditation, the task is to sit with mindfully present for our experience, centered and maybe in the breathing, and being very simple, being here and now. But notice whatever takes you away. Notice whatever takes you away from this inner process that needs awareness for it to have space for, to allow it to come and grow. And whatever takes you away, notice whatever ways you interfere with it, judge it, try to fix it, try to avoid it, react to it, to see if there can be a radical way of getting out of the way of your deeper nature of your psychophysical system. And sometimes certain things will have to get more intense before they heal, before they resolve. But to have the profound trust, the trust in getting radically out of the way and staying present. So I hope this makes sense. So to assume a meditation posture, and one of the ways of understanding this meditation posture, it's a posture that doesn't interfere with the full dynamic freedom of this inner process while we sit still. Not to hold ourselves still, but to softly allow ourselves to be still. So there's a kind of soft space for each unique thing that's happening within us to appear, persist, pass away. And perhaps you gently close your eyes. And with the eyes closed, a kind of soft homecoming to the body, a soft willingness to turn the attention here in this body at this time. And as you breathe in, to feel the body, feel the tensions of the body without reactivity, judgments. To feel on the inhale and relax on the exhale. And if relaxing is too active, allow for a release. Allow for letting go in the body as you exhale. And finding where in your body the body's experience of breathing has some sense of freedom, where the inhale begins freely on its own, maybe in a different place where you might be controlling the breath. Where the exhale happens on its own. And as you stay with your breathing in and breathing out, maybe you can have an appreciation of whatever piece, little piece of breathing is a natural process that happens without your interfering and doing consciously and intentionally. And it could be as simple as the contact of your skin against your clothes, how it shifts as you breathe. Or the expanding and contracting movements, however subtle, in your back rib cage. And then noticing any way in which you interfere or avoid or judge or try to fix. Instead, leave things alone, radically alone. Maybe with the support of the way in which the breathing happens naturally. Breathing is the centerpiece of a natural process that everything is part of, if we can get out of the way, while clearly aware of what is here. Trusting, trusting the natural processes within us works best when we're radically thorough in non-interference, non-interfering awareness. Really present here in a clear, living way. Not participating actively in anything. Leaving all things alone. Each individual thing that arises within us, around us. Let it be. Content to just be aware. whatever is happening. Make room for it. Don't do anything about it. Just know it. In the simplest way, you can be aware, be mindful, know that it's happening. Like you would know clearly a cloud floating in the sky. Or water flowing down a river. Let it be. Let life flow here and now. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to imagine how it can be deeply respectful of others, to, from a place of our confidence, our safety, our self-respect, that we can just know others as they are. Take the time to listen to others, to see them, to know them, without our agendas, without our interference. Not giving in to others, but not asserting ourselves on others, not avoiding, but present, interested, knowing each person in their own right for who they are, not for what they are to us. Free of our fears, free of our desires. Just allow and know others. And maybe there too, there's a natural process that unfolds. And one of those is our love, our goodwill, our sense of being in communion together. May our goodwill spread out into the world. May it be a balm, may it be medicine for this suffering world, that we offer it our goodwill, our kindness, our friendship, compassion, love. That respects each thing in a profound way, free of our interference. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. Thank you. So today, I will reflect on the final and 10th of the 10 reflections. And in some ways, I very much think of them, it is following all the others. All the others are a foundation for this last one. And I think of it as healing. So yesterday was reconciliation. Today's healing. And the difference between reconciliation and healing in the way that I'm using it here is reconciliation is the healing we do socially. The coming into wholeness, into communion, coming together and with kindness, with goodwill, with others. Healing I use here as how we reconcile ourselves with ourselves, how we come into communion, to wholeness with ourselves. And I like to believe is not a coincidence, or that it's very significant that the English word wholeness and healing and health all kind of come from the same uh, uh, Indo-European roots through the Germanic and Scandinavian and Northern European languages. That there's something about healing and health, which means to be whole, to be undamaged, to be uninjured, and to be complete in a certain kind of way. And so to not be divided in ourselves. And there are times when we are at war with ourselves. We have values we believe in, but we don't live that way. We have ways of being and thinking and feeling which somehow or other we think is not acceptable, and we have to get rid of it, push it away. And so I've seen in some people quite an intense standoff, kind of impassable kind of checkmate around the war between different parts of themselves. And so to heal the divisions we have, to heal the ways in which we are critical of ourselves, angry at ourselves, hostile towards ourselves, heal the ways in which we are shut off from ourselves, divided in ourselves. And one way or the other, most people are. To be attached is to be divided. To have hostility towards others is to be divided in oneself. To live caught in fear is a way of not being whole. And of course there's good reasons to be afraid, and fear is a necessary, important part of life in certain kind of healthy ways. But there are ways in which people get stuck in ways that they're not full, not whole, not complete. Of these 10 reflections, I think of the last one as being the one that is closest to being religious. These 10 reflections, as I've introduced them, come from the world of chaplaincy, where hospital and prison and hospice chaplains, especially in some parts of this country like California, are available to do interfaith chaplaincy, interfaith spiritual care, where they meet people of other religions in their own, and not to proselytize, but rather to support them in their own way. And so the orientation has to be kind of more spiritual than religious, more, and it's so broad, these 10 reflections, that these themes, that they also work for people who are non-religious, who are humanists or atheists. They're such fundamental human things. But as we get to this sense of healing, the possibility of healing, the trusting of healing, of wholeness, that there's something here within us that is a kind of a greater power than what we have full agency over. That's different than what we have control over, or can make happen or do, or something that we no longer need to resist and hold back from. Something quite significant that, in a sense, in my language, is a greater power within us that is not appropriated to our identity, to that part of it that we create a self and build up a sense of self. And it's not so strange what I'm saying. As I often will point out, it's kind of like the natural greater power of physical healing from a cut. We can cut ourselves, and it's physiologically a fairly complicated, multifaceted event for the body to heal itself. But if we can let get out of the way of the healing, keep the wound clean, keep it from getting dirty, not pick the scab, that the body has a way of healing up to a certain point. And the certain point is I still have on my back of my hand the remnants, the leftover of that's I think fully healed, and as far as healing is concerned. But I still have the scar of being deeply cut on my hand, and and I appreciate the scar that's left. It reminds me of my fragility, my mortality, my all kinds of things. That's part of the wholeness, is to include that. What's the remnant of what's there? It's not necessarily we have nothing left over, psychologically, emotionally, physically, from how we get healed. But there is this power within, that this force, this ability, this capacity within, that I can't say it's mine in the sense where a usual place where I identify, or me as the agent, me as the experiencer, me as the doer, me as something. And it's just so lovely to relax and trust this deeper process. I still have a role to support that, but it's a role mostly of non-interference. Don't interfere with the healing that goes on. And this is also true in the heart, emotionally. It's true in the mind. We have a phenomenal, our whole psychophysical system is kind of maybe built to move towards balance, to homeostasis, to wholeness. And we have a very sophisticated system within us that none of us can fully understand how it works. And so at some point in Dharma practice, to the movement towards wholeness, or to freedom, or to peace, or to not being non-divided, requires a radical kind of non-interference, a radical trust and allowing for this natural maturity, the natural healing that our system is capable of. But if we're always riding close, like a kid in the back seat saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" If we're always there, kind of, pushing and trying to make it happen, or scratching the scab, this natural process cannot happen. And so to come into some deeper trust that allows some deeper movements within us to begin unfolding and opening and coming into a kind of wholeness. And part of that process is healing, a personal healing within ourselves. And of course, the reconciliation with others is not going to be independent from our healing in ourselves, in the way I'm using these words. They're not separate, but there is a whole process of self-healing that goes on. And for many people, when they come to Dharma practice, in the beginning, I think a lot of what's happening is healing. Or if you don't like the word healing, or it's not quite right for what your process is, coming into a wholeness. And to some degree, it's aided by a certain humility, not the humility of belittling oneself or being submissive or anything, but the humility of not feeling that we know everything, we're in charge of everything, we can do everything ourselves, and kind of just barrel ahead and make everything right. There is a humility that trusts and allows for that we don't know it all. We're not the one who's the doer and the maker of it all. We have to allow some other process to unfold, make room for it. And that allowing then, just that itself, heals some of the divisions that are formed by excessive self-assertion, self-deprecation. Humility is not self-criticism or diminishing yourselves. It actually heals that as well. We come into a simplicity of being. And from that simplicity of being, from that kind of simple, maybe humble wholeness or healing, then when we can still be agents in our life. We can still do things. We can still live with dignity and value and purpose and meaning. But it comes from a very different place. It arises within us without stress, without strain, without creating further division, either socially or personally. So this personal healing, and remember Stephen Levine, a wonderful teacher from many years ago, made the distinction for me, maybe other people maybe had done it, between curing and healing. And he worked a lot with people who were dying. And he was kind of one of the pioneers of the hospice movement and working with death and dying. And he was aided and supported people in their last days of their life to be healed in a psychological, emotional, spiritual way that didn't cure them of their illness. So it didn't bring them back into physical health, but still helped them with a profound movement towards healing. And it was one of the greatest things that we can do for someone as they're dying, or we can do for ourselves as we're dying, is to come into that wholeness, that personal healing. It is possible. And it's not the same thing as having a cure. So what is your experience of personal healing, or if you prefer, coming into wholeness? And or if you prefer, rather than these positive or formulations, becoming undivided. And how does that work for you? And how do you move into it? And is there space in your life to trust it more, to allow for it more to happen? It takes time, and we have to give ourselves time. I like to call it sacred time for this process to unfold within us. So those are the 10 reflections, and I'm delighted to have shared it with you. And if you want more of this, then in the fall, I'm going to do a program through the Sati Center that is kind of adapting some of the things that we do in the chaplaincy programs I teach, that presents it kind of to a lay audience, or to people who are not being trained to be chaplains, but some of the fundamentals of spiritual care. And one of the things we'll go through over the year is these 10 themes. We did this last 2 weeks. So that's on the Sati Center website if you're interested. And then for the next 3 weeks I won't be here, and I'm teaching a retreat for the next 2 weeks, and going on a pilgrimage, a Buddhist pilgrimage, the following week. And so next week Shelley Galt will come, a wonderful teacher from Santa Barbara, and then May Elliott will come, and I don't think we have a teacher yet for the 3rd week. But that's you'll be in good hands. So thank you very, very much, and I appreciate very much that I had this opportunity to reflect on these themes with you.